So Coach will take it from here.
So, as mentioned, we had three front ends, three platforms we covered during our hackathon. We had web for desktop websites, and we also had an Android application and mobile web application built for this purpose. We had two techniques for two main scenarios for user experience. We asked the user to just simply quickly give us a few details about themselves, their job, what they get, and we, in these screens you see here, and we would calculate, rank them according to their counterparts in the industry, telling them whether or not they are well compensated or undercompensated for their work. So this was the Android application itself, and at the end, after providing all the data, you give us, you visualize for you how well you're compensated. Like in this case, for this particular user, the industry pays a maximum of 50,000 shillings and 5,000 shillings, and this is where you are around the middle for 40,000 shillings, and the average is around 12,500 shillings. So in this case, you get the impression that the user is a bit underpaid in the particular industry. So now this is how we pulled it off, having three platforms. We had a database layer, an application programming interface layer, on top of which we had an Android application and our web framework, which exposed a mobile website and a desktop website. So, given the nature of the design, it's very scalable. We could actually now easily move over to having a front for SMS and USSD, because the application, the API interface itself contains all the logic we require. So it's just building for SMS and USSD will be just building a new front end of the application. Of course, for the techies, if you're interested, this will be on GitHub also. It's all pieces.
So at this point, there would be a lot of value added by PayRank that does things a little bit differently than its competitors. There would be a difference between short-term earnings and long-term earnings, which we won't quite break down here. But there are four general layers of value that we're adding. First would be analytics. You'd be able to not only get immediate information about where you stand, but later on we would see, if you actually joined as a member, that you could get reports, reminders about when you should ask for a pay raise perhaps, give you an idea of where you stand in the industry vis-a-vis other industries, other professions, and other people. Professional services, you could eventually either sell this app or continue along and provide extra professional services like coaching, feedback on jobs, writing your CV. We also intend to have job postings. It's a way to make income and make it sustainable. You also have an advocacy tool. So we would like to feature the labor rights and labor minimums, minimum wages and whatnot. So you'll be able to advocate for yourself, or advocates can then use this as a platform to come together and organize workers. And finally, for educational decision making, as we kind of hinted at in the beginning, students or people that are unemployed can decide whether they want to go back to school and what types of degrees would actually contribute to their earnings later on and where they would stand in the market. Our roadmap in general would be, we would begin with development in 2 months. We would, that wouldn't take too long. It would be mostly the technical stuff. Maybe Coach can elaborate on that briefly.
Yeah. So this will mainly involve improving the application itself. This was a hackathon, so there are lots of bugs and we need to tighten up and improve the code generally. So that's what we'll do in the next 2 months.
And then in beta, that would take about 2 months. In the beginning, we would be collecting a lot of data. There isn't a lot available. So as we mentioned, the data liberation was mostly with minimum wages. We would have to do a lot of crowdsourcing and really get numbers together to make this useful. And then finally, after those 2 months were ended, we would launch the project. To give you an example of some use cases, we would break it down to employers and workers. Employer would be long-term, workers would be short-term. We went with the term workers because you would have currently employed people and also unemployed individuals that would be looking for jobs. The input that would come in would be personal data, and the worker would get back salary data and also additional resources that we discussed in the value added. And then for employers, salary data would also be sent to them after they input employee data and their job postings. So So that would kind of be the ecosystem of information. And at that point, I would like to thank the team. If our developers could quickly stand up and give you a little thank you for working together today. We also have creatives on the team. We're 8 creative.